YouTube channels. I got his Facebook and his Instagram. So you guys can look at the description of this video if you're watching the playback. You can look at the description of this video and you will see his information. So go over and support him. And I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Let him tell you who he is and what he's about. What's going on with you, Savage Red Recovery?
Not too much, not too much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem, man. It's an honor to have you on. I know you just starting out with the YouTube. You got a smaller channel, but I feel your channel is gonna grow, and I feel it's a privilege to interview you because I put you in the category as some of the great people I interviewed, like the No Joke Howards and the Mike Outs and the Charles Tyler. I put you in that level because you have a very interesting story, and I know that just your channel is going to grow, and you're going to be a big channel because you have a very interesting story, and you have a very interesting approach also in helping people dealing with like addiction, alcohol, drugs, and all of that. I'm gonna let you share with the people who like what you all about and tell them about your channel.
All right, so my name is Savage Recovery, and my channel is about male. It's about the gender war with males and women, and about men bettering themselves and not falling into the trap of being a blue pill. Which being a blue pill is going through life knowing, being told by your mom and by all the women in your life that you need to treat women nice and pull out chairs for them, and you always have to do whatever is good for them to make them happy. And then as you grow up, you realize that all the stuff you were told is a lie. The nicer you treat women, the worse they treat you. Once you have kids, the court system screws you up. And pretty much it's about being on your own purpose and investing in yourself. So I've been sober for 5 years. I'm a recovered heroin addict. Um, I started off getting high when my first arrest was at 16 years old. I was drinking. My mom called the police on me because I came home drunk as a skunk with alcohol poisoning. And over the years, it just progressed to the point where I'm a two-time convicted felon of aggravated trafficking and of tampering with evidence. I got sober in 2015, and I've been sober a little over 5 years. I have two kids, a son that's 3 and a daughter that's 1. And I started my YouTube channel about 2 or 3 months ago, and just seeing how it goes.
Okay, I mean, because you're doing a lot of great, like a lot of great stuff on your channel, and like I said, I check you out all the time, and I appreciate what you do. And congratulations on being sober for 5.5 years. 'Cause I know it's a struggle when you deal with addiction. Like you got to take one day at a time. Um, because a lot of times people that deal with addiction sometimes they experience relapse because it's about some people they might have to try several times before they get it right. Some people can go long for a long time, but then they relapse. Have you ever experienced relapse, or can you tell us about like your struggles or the struggles of dealing with addiction?
So I've never experienced relapse. The first time I got sober was in 2015. I had never tried getting sober. The idea of being sober was never a thought. Once I got sober, I stayed sober. Only 2% of all heroin addicts stay sober. And pretty much the hardest part is rebuilding your life. When you torture life to nothing, the hardest part is getting acclimated to working, getting acclimated to being accountable, not hanging out with idiots anymore. Like the hardest struggles I've had in sobriety have been with child support and the court system. It's not really been with getting high. Like there's been times that I've wanted to get high, but that's really a symptom of me wanting to take a break. Um, the hardship of reality of life really stacks up on you, especially when you're a male. Um, like my hardest times have been when dealing with like um I'm in construction, so like I can get laid off at any time, and having to keep up with child support and taking work off to go to court for CPS with my kid's mom, or going to child support for my other kid's mom, or going to court for custody. Just that back and forth with money and getting laid off and making sure that I pay my probation fees and keep a roof over my head and stuff and be a good dad. Like those things are the hard stressors of life. It's mainly at this point I'm more likely to go to prison than I am to get high.
And what was your support like? I mean, like what was your plan for recovery? Like some people go to groups, some people go to AA, and some people do it alone. Some people go cold turkey. I mean, everybody do it different. Some people had to have a support group to do it. Some people do it alone. How did you do it?
So I went to a place in Cleveland, Ohio, at the corner of Broadway and Harvard called Absolute House. It's a halfway house. It's got 70 men in it, and it's not itself a treatment program, but it is very strong in AA. Excuse me. So they you stay halfway for your first like 2 months, so you can't leave except for if you're going with the group to meetings. When you get there, you have to get a sponsor. They put you on a routine. The routine is you have to wake up and shave, make your bed, clean your room, do your house chore, go down to prayers. You do your morning reading, and then you end up going to a group every day. You're learning about the 12 steps of AA. And then after you go through your 12 steps of AA, you become three quarter and you start paying rent to live there. You usually stay there between 6 months to a year. Um, I went to AA for the first like 2, 3 years of my sobriety. I no longer go to AA, but I really didn't have a plan. All I knew is that I didn't like what was going on, and I couldn't keep doing it. And I decided to reach out to someone that my girlfriend at the time, her friend was sober up in Cleveland, so I called him and I detoxed. I stayed on a couch in Canton getting high until I could go to treatment, and then I went cold turkey. I've never been on a medical detox. I've never detoxed with any sort of medication. It's either been in jail or just laid on the couch going through withdrawal, or yeah, like I've just always cold turkeyed any time that I was detoxing.
How long did the process take for you to really be free of addiction? How long did that process take before you left the recovery house?
So when I went to the house, I was detoxing for a month, and then I went through my 12 steps in my first like 40 days or 48 days, but I got kicked out of the Absolute House at 6.5 months sober.
Okay. And how old were you when you first started experimenting? I know like you have a past with not only drugs, but you had a past also with the alcohol. Like how old were you when you first started experimenting with the alcohol and drugs?
I started drinking at 16. I started smoking weed at 16. By 19, I was selling pounds. I was selling rolls. Like I sold everything except for hardcore drugs when I was 19. I started selling pills all through high school though. I was selling pills all through high school. I didn't start selling heroin until I was like 22, 21, something like that. I'm 31 now.
Okay. What was your favorite drug? Like was heroin your drug of choice? Was your main drug?
That I loved it. I loved it. Loved heroin.
Did you ever do any of the psychedelic stuff? You ever done the LSD or the shrooms and stuff like that?
Yeah, I used to sell shrooms. I used to sell acid. I used to do chlorocidins. I used to take DMT. Like the only drugs on the market that I haven't done is I haven't done mescaline, and I haven't done any of the experimental drugs like CE2 or CE4 on all the hybrid drugs out of uh, out of China. I have done K2 and spice and bath salts and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things I experimented was LSD. I used to love LSD. I mean, it took me on a whole different journey. And like, it wasn't a high, it's a trip. You go on a trip, you go on a journey. There's a difference between like high and a trip because it showed you some things. That was one of my favorite things I've done. I did alcohol also. I had my rounds with drugs. I did weed. I did cocaine. I did all of that stuff, but I didn't. I don't know, for some reason I didn't get addicted. I didn't have an addicted personality toward it. My family, I come up from a family that struggled with alcoholism. On my dad's side of the family, majority of the people inside the family died of alcoholism. A lot of my family members died of alcoholism because that's something that we struggle with. And I drink. I still drink to this day, but I never had an addiction to the alcohol. I mean, I could do it and I had control of it. Um, but a lot of people in my family, like they couldn't do it. It's like even when I experiment with stuff, I always keep in mind my family because I know I'm playing with fire. And a lot of people don't understand how I do what I do, but I've always experimented with stuff, but I never felt an addiction or never felt that I had to rely on it or had to do it on a regular basis. I did stuff like recreational, like when I went out sometime or go places. I've always did that to kind of, I don't know, make me feel at ease and I guess sometimes help me with my anxiety. I dealt with anxiety also, so a lot of that stuff kind of helped me, like doing that, being in social places and stuff. Um, a lot of people, some people do stuff sometimes to mask things that's going on in their lives. People do drugs or do alcohol to mask different things. Some people deal with like a bad, they could be going through a bad marriage that lead them to alcoholism. They could be lost their job but going through financial issues that will lead a person. Or sometimes you can meet people. You can meet a girl that could turn you on to stuff, or it can be vice versa. It can go either way. It can go either way with that.
Well,
But have you
alcohol, alcoholism and drug addiction runs through my family, but like I have a younger sister that's 20. She's 21 months younger than I am, and she's never been a drug addict. She's never been an alcoholic. Pretty much all the males in my family are drug addicts or alcoholics or criminals, or all of them. And in AA, they teach you. I'm not sure if you've been to AA, but they teach you that you have an allergy to drugs. So it's just like if you have a strawberry allergy. Like you might go 20 years eating strawberries, then all of a sudden you're allergic to them. Most people don't realize that they have an allergic reaction to drugs until they're already addicted. And heroin's one of those things that it doesn't matter if you're a drug addict or have an addictive personality. If you do it long enough, you start getting dope sick. It makes you an addict regardless.
exactly? That's one thing I never tried was heroin. I've always been afraid of that because I know that's very strong, and I know people that get on that it's hard to get off. And also your body, like you said, you go through sickness. Your body when they don't get it, then your body you start throwing up and you have all kind of stuff like that, stomach cramps and stuff. And that's a hell of a drug right there. Heroin is a hell of a drug. But we got a lot of people in the U.S. now that dealing with opiate, like the opiate crisis, and do the opiate give people the same effect that the heroin would give?
Yeah, so your body doesn't see a difference between opiates. So if you're doing a Vicodin from your doctor, the difference between a Vicodin and like a Percocet, like if you get a Perc 30 is all opiates. If you get a Vicodin, it's cut with aspirin. When you do morphine, it's like doing heroin. Your body doesn't see any difference in it. So if you're taking pharmaceuticals, you're still doing heroin. You're just doing a doctor's form of heroin.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I probably, I mean, I've done, I had, the doctor give me, I was doing oxycodone. The doctor gave me that for a back condition I dealt with. So I was taking it, but I didn't take, I took it as needed. I didn't, they wanted me to take it so many times. a day. So
You're cutting in and out.
that a lot of people get addicted to that.
Yeah.
A lot of people get addicted to the opiates, and I've always been afraid of that.
Yeah.
Always, because where drugs come from, like opiate and heroin.
You're cutting in and out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not my internet is kind of lagging. This week last to this week I'm gonna need to probably get more bandwidth. Uh, it's kind of lagging, but I'm gonna try this on that part.
But yeah, man, it's just amazing, man. I've seen people with that have been on drugs. I have friends that although I've never been through that situation, Red, I've had friends that actually have been through it, and it's like it just leads them to do certain things, and it's like they act different. It's like they act different when they are.
Yeah. Honestly, I think heroin is of the devil. It takes your soul.
Wow.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say that. I hear a lot of people say that the heroin is of the devil.
Yeah, like listen. I've seen I've seen all sorts of depravity from junkies. Like I've seen I've seen girls that that was the girl next door that never had any ideas of doing any sort of sex work or anything like that end up being willing to do whatever to get heroin. Like it takes your soul. I've hung out with dudes that are good guys and then see them relapse and they just become shitbags.
Wow. All right. If any of you guys got anything in the comments you want to address to our guest today, Savage Red Recovery, you can in the chat. Also, if you want to come on, join the panel. The link is in the chat. If you guys want to join, want to talk to him, I'm going to post a link in the chat. What was the point in your life that you realized that like you had a problem that you want to change? Like, did anyone, any of your family members, any of your friends ever try to do an intervention with you? Have anybody, did any of your people close to you reach out to you and say like you out of control, you got a problem, and you need to change? Like, did anybody reach out to you, or did you
Well,
just on your own?
It really wasn't that anyone ever did an intervention on me. It's no one that ever really like. I'm not the type of guy that takes advice from people. So my family never really did an intervention or anything like that. But there was a time that my father, when he was alive, he found out that I was doing heroin, and he called me and told me, "Hey, listen, your cousin Bobby, he almost died from doing heroin. Like, stay away from the heroin." He's like, "If you want to do coke, like, I'll do coke with you, but just do me a favor and stay away from heroin." And that was back in like 2012. And then my dad ended up dying in 2014, and that's when I started to see the light.
When you did, I know you was saying earlier, the heroin is the devil drug. Like when you were doing heroin, did like did you see any negative impacts in your life, or like did you see any negative from that?
Yeah, like you like anytime that you sell drugs and do criminal acts, you always see negativity. Also, at 19, I made a pact with the devil, and I was seeing the negative aspects of that as well. But at the end of the day, like when you're doing drugs every day, Like it's just like when you smoke cigarettes. If you go and smoke 2 packs a day, at the end of the week, you're gonna see that you're spending over $140 for cigarettes in the states. It's hard to smoke 2 packs a day and shoot up $1,000 worth of heroin a day and live. Like it's not economically possible. So you're gonna hang out with people that are grimy and doing grimy things, and you're gonna be doing grimy things. So you're gonna have trouble with the law. Like it's just like the whole idea of a trap. Like when you sell drugs, how many people do you hear about that actually sell drugs and make it out of selling drugs, or they end up broke, not selling drugs, or they end up dead or in prison? You don't hear many people that sell drugs, make a bunch of money, and get out, and their life's good.
And how much would you say you spent a day when you was doing heroin? How much would you say you spent on the record?
When I was in Cincinnati in 2012, I think, to 2013, I was doing $1,000 a day with the heroin.
Wow, wow. So
Oh,
that's very expensive. That's so like $7,000 a week. 7,000 a week. Wow, that's $28,000 a month. Wow, $28,000 a month.
a month. Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Like, how did you get that money? Did you get that money from selling drugs, or like?
So, so I at the time I sold meat for a company called Iowa State Company. I was a trainer. I went down to Cincinnati to help this store. End up not getting closed. And while I was down there, the way it works is they give you a truck and a bunch of meat. They front you the meat. You go out, and when you come back, you pay for the meat and you keep the difference. So every day I'd start my day off and I would go sell 3-4 cases real quick for cash, and then I'd buy dope. And by the end of the night, when I came back, I would have paid off the meat, and I would have spent like $500-$600 while I was out, and I'd still have $500-$600 when I got off work. So I was paying like anywhere from $80 to $100 a gram, and I was doing anywhere from 9 to 11 grams a day while I was doing that. But at that
Right. When you
time,
when you,
but at that time, there was times that I couldn't pay for a motel room. Like I slept in. I was at this motel that I couldn't pay to get a room, but I'd sleep in like their little laundry room that was heated at night, or I'd sleep in one of the trucks in the middle of the winter. Like it wasn't great. It wasn't a great time.
wow, when you did drugs, did you do it on your own or did you do it with other people?
Oh, you always do it with other people. You either do it with yourself or you do it with the people that you're hanging out, and usually the people that are around you are doing the same thing you're doing.
I was different because like when I did stuff, I didn't do it around people. I did it by myself. Didn't nobody know I was doing things when I was doing stuff that nobody know because I always did everything alone. I didn't feel comfortable doing stuff around people.
Yeah, I'm like the whole reason that the as my name Savage is because like I do everything to the max. So when I was doing drugs, everyone knew I was doing drugs. Like when I was committing crimes, everyone knew I was committing crimes. Like there was like when I got arrested in 2015 in January, and I weighed 130 pounds, and I'm 6'3". So like there's like I look like death. There's no way you could look at me and not think I was doing drugs.
Wow, because I know I did a lot. I was doing it to the max too, but I don't know. I was able to hide it. When because people didn't expect me to do the stuff that I was doing. They wouldn't think that I would be the person that would do the things I was doing. But I've always kept everything. It's only two people knew: the guy, my dealer, and I had a girl that knew. I had a girl that knew that I was doing it or whatever. But that was it.
Well, like I said, I've been arrested multiple times, so like there wasn't a way of hiding it.
Wow.
Wow. Man.
Very interesting. You guys go check out his page. Go to his social media. It's in the description of the video. Check out his channel, the Savage Red Recovery channel. Also check him out on social media. And like I said, this guy, man, he got a story, man. This guy. I hope you guys listening to this, share this video with people that's going through
Right.
addiction or people that's dealing with this. So I mean, like I said, it might be a help to them. And also, like, do you help people that reach out to you? Like, do people reach out to you? Cause like when I see your name, Savage Red Recovery, it made me think that you helping people, that you recovering, and that you helping other people that might be in the same situation or in the same boat.
Well, when I got sober, I was sponsoring guys at 6.5 months sober, and then I was running a sober house for guys when I got sober. But I haven't been in AA for the last 2 years, so like I haven't helped that many people. But when I put my drug addiction story on my channel, I had people that reached out to me and told me about their kids and stuff, and I gave them advice. But I haven't had too many people reach out to me because what you'll come to find out with drug addicts is you can't help them unless they want help. So like there's really no reason to bring it to somebody that's on drugs unless they want it. So the reason that my name is Savage Red Recovery is because the savage the savage part is about my delivery and my thoughts on stuff because I don't filter myself and I don't hold myself back on the way that I say things. The reason that it's red is because as I got sober, I went from being like from the left side of the left side of politics towards the right side of politics, and the recovery is between my addiction and also my recovery from being on the left side of politics to the right side of politics, or from the blue pill of how women's nature is to reality. That's what my name is for.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about like, I know on your Facebook, I think you known as Red Pill, and I know you kind of follow the philosophy of the Red Pill. Was you Red Pill during the time you was doing the drugs, or like
No,
when did you
no.
discover the Red Pill part? And kind of tell us about the Red Pill.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was when I was a drug addict, I was a Democrat. Like I believed in all that crap about being a feminist and women need our help and all that stuff and bad men are hurting women and all this other stuff. But then as I got sober, like I was in support for Obama, his both of his terms, when I was a drug addict. But as I got sober and I started to deal with women in sobriety, because that's the other thing. When I was on drugs, I was dealing with women that were doing shady shit, and like that was acceptable
Hmm.
because I was doing shady shit. But then when I got sober and I still kept coming down with the exact same problems and the same shady shit from women, I started to be like, there's not something right about this. And then I ended up having my son when I got my my son's mom pregnant at 15 months sober. And then as time went on, I started to shift my point of view because when you're getting sober, the problem as a drug addict is you blame everyone for your problems. Like I would be farther in life if my family helped me. I wouldn't have got arrested if I would have left earlier in the day. The cop wouldn't have been there when I drove by. Like you always point blame to someone else. It's not the fact that you were getting high or carrying drugs or selling drugs that was the problem. It was the cops or the person that snitched on you. So when I got sober, I had to start taking accountability for the things that I was doing and seeing my part and stuff. So like that was the start. And then going to child support court, going to custody court, dealing with my kid's mom, uh always no matter what I was doing, always having a problem with she would always have a problem with me or not letting me see my son or all these things. Like I had always heard that child support sucked. You know, everyone knows child support sucks, but it's not until you get bit by child support that you actually know how bad it is. Like, we all know that getting hit by a car would probably suck, but it's that moment when you get hit by the car that you realize how bad it actually is. So, like, that's pretty much why I started to change the way that I seen the world started to shift. Because, like, in sobriety, I had a woman, um, not let me see my kids. I went to court and I paid thousands of dollars to get custody of my son. Didn't get custody. Only got 10 hours a week with him. When I first got put on child support, I was paying $1,300 a month in child support, and I was only making $34,000. So if you do the math on that, I was paying $16,000 a year on child support before taxes. I went from making like $600 or $700 a week to making $280 a week, paying for an attorney to go back to get the child support lowered. Um, I was told by the court system that I couldn't claim my son anymore. Then I had a daughter. I had a woman say I had two women in sobriety tell people that I was beating them. That didn't happen, and I was on parole. Well, not parole, but I was on probation, and for the whole time, I just got off probation this month, and I was looking at 5 years on my head, and I had two women telling people that I was beating them, which could have got me locked up, which it never happened. My I had a woman. My son's mixed, and I had a woman get mad at me and call me the N word, and ended up after she called me the N word, I broke up with her, and she was pregnant, and then she had an abortion to get at me. She told me she hoped it broke me when she found out that she killed my kid. My daughter's mom ended up getting high with my daughter while she was pregnant. Then CPS got involved, and CPS decided they weren't going to do anything about it. They said she was a couple months sober, so she was good. So the state paid for her to go to treatment. They paid for her to take care of the kid. Like, that's what really got me to the red pill. The red pill is pretty much that women are or the blue pill is pretty much women are victims, and we need to step up and take care of women, and that women are innocent creatures that don't do nothing to nobody. But then you start dating them, and then you see that they're just as scandalous as we are, but they get the guise of being victims all the time. Like, I don't know if you've ever dated a woman, but pretty much every woman that you've ever come across has a story about how her ex was a cheater, or her ex beat her, or her ex did this and her ex did that. And it's like, how has every woman that I date had their ass whooped by a dude? How does that work out? Because I don't know any dudes that just beat the crap out of women on the blue like all the time. I don't know anyone that I know that would do that. I wouldn't hang out with them. I don't know how no men that I know approves of this. So I just started to see the lies, and I started to see the matrix that's been made for women. And once I woke up out of reality, like I just couldn't go back to living in the lie.
Exactly. I mean, most of the guys get the bad end of the stick, though, in those situations. The way the system built to support the women. The woman, the only thing she got to do is call the police, and your ass going to jail. Your ass is going to jail. They're gonna put handcuffs on you, and they gonna always go in her favor. And it's a sad situation. Like Derek Else said, my brother left the country because of child support. Man. A lot of us get the bad end of the stick with that, though. It's a sad situation, a sad thing. But it's the reality, though.
Yeah, like, listen. Just a few months ago, I was dating a woman. I was with her for over a year. She got mad, and she started talking to my daughter's mom. And my daughter's mom, I was going back and forth to court and through CPS because of her getting high with my kid and whatnot. And my girlfriend decided to start plotting, like sharing information with my kid's mom while the case was still open, and plotting against me. And then she told her about my YouTube channel. So my kid's mom decided to start talking shit to me because she didn't like what I was saying about her in my YouTube videos. So, like, I literally have had a woman try to get me locked up, keep my kid from me, tell CPS that like they tried when I finally got to see my daughter, they wanted me to do supervised visits because I hadn't been around my daughter because her mom blocked her. Now imagine that I'm 5 years sober. I haven't been arrested in 5 years. I have no violent crimes on my record. I have no crimes with kids. But because I'm a male, the court system wanted me to get supervised visits, even though the mom was getting high. Tell me that's not slanted.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, like my son's mom just texted me like 2 3 days ago. She saw one of my YouTube videos and got mad, told me I was a liar and I'm a shitty dude and I'm a bad father, and she's gonna be that woman that I want everyone to believe she is. And it's like when you have kids with women that you're not with, you're at their beck. You're pretty much at their beck and call. Like you're always dealing with some drama because they have control of your kid and you have to go through them. Like that's what woke me up is having to deal with that.
So did you meet her while you was getting high?
No, none of my kids' moms have ever met me getting high. Like I've never
Oh, okay.
my kids have never seen me high. Like none of none of the women I've dated in the last 5 years knew me when I was getting high. Like nobody. I don't even hang out with people that I was getting high with, and I don't hang out with people from my home city because I'm not from Cleveland. I moved to Cleveland to commit more crimes and get away with it, and then I got sober and stayed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the reason I asked, cause like, like it seemed like when you got off drugs, like your whole everything changed. Like your eyes became open. A lot of people think when getting high, like you deeper, you can see more, but really you have cloudy vision during that time. When you high, you like everything is clouded, but then when you sober, then everything you see things clearly, and like the whole perspective change. You change, your views change, your way of life change. It's like it was a change.
Yeah,
Can you talk to us about the change after you,
yeah,
like when you got sober?
yeah. So, pretty much, I always saw life prior to getting sober. I always saw myself as a victim. I was always a victim of circumstance. I was always a victim of someone else's bullshit. I was never causing my own bullshit. And as I got sober, I started to see like all the things that I was doing, like the things that I was doing that were my fault. And like when Trump ran for president, I thought I honestly I didn't like Hillary. I didn't like Hillary at all. And I thought it was like I thought it was voting for the lesser of two evils. But I ended up getting into the construction field, and that just happened to be by chance. And then I started to see the stuff he was doing for the country, and I started to see the victim culture on the left and the victim culture that women have in their head, and like I just realized that like that was part of the sickness that I like being a victim was part of the sickness that I had when I was sober or before I was sober. So being around people that saw that way wasn't going to benefit me in any way. So like those things just continued to push me farther to the right. And one of the things you learn when you're a drug addict and you're counseling people or you're trying to help them get sober, their parents will ask you like, what do I do for my son? What do I do for my daughter? And you have to tell them you need to give them tough love. Like you can't give them money, you can't let them live with you, you can't bring them food. Like you have to cut them off because they're not going to change their ways until they have absolutely no choice. And learning that whole idea of tough love helped push me into shifting my whole all my views.
Also, I want to ask you, like during this time of the pandemic, we're going through a pandemic right now. Do you think that, like, I see a lot of people acting out because of this pandemic? They in quarantine, they in the house, and they can't get out. Do you think a lot of people like dealing with addiction? You think that could be rough on people, like the pandemic and what we're going through right now? Do you think that that's some of the stuff that could trigger someone back to doing drugs, or like what would you say to the people right now that's dealing like with the pandemic, like and it might be a struggle to them because some people they got time on their hand, they're not working, so they got time on their hand. I always heard that the idle mind is a devil workshop. When you got time, then I mean you do crazy things. I mean, some people got time. They drink all day now. They don't work. They go back to drinking. You get bored. You go back to doing things. You think that this pandemic would trigger people to go back to it, or what would you say to people that like going through
I
the
don't
pandemic with this?
I don't believe in triggers. Like
Okay.
I don't believe in triggers anyway. If you want to get sober, you're going to get sober. If you've decided that you want to stop using drugs and alcohol, you're going to stop. You're not going to, like, if that was the case, then I could never eat with any sort of spoon the rest of my life because I shot up on it. I used the spoon to shoot up every single day, all day long. So if I can stay sober eating cereal, then you can stay sober in a pandemic. Like, triggers are just a way for people that don't, like, you'll come to find out that a lot of people that get sober, they don't want to be sober. They're only getting sober because they want life to get a little bit easier for them so they can go back out. So, no, I don't believe in triggers. And I don't believe that this pandemic would make things harder because we live in a society where there's internet. You literally can make a YouTube channel. You can learn how to work on your car. You can go on YouTube and find how to fix anything. Like you can educate yourself in so many ways these days that you couldn't have done in the 80s or the 90s. Like there's no reason for you to be idle. You can always be doing something.
You're right about that. 'Cause I see a lot of my friends. They are doing time instead of sitting back being bored and drinking or drugging. They going to the Home Depot. They doing projects. They building things. Doing things that they never thought they could do, and they using this time to be creative. I mean, even myself during this time, I have so much time now. I'm being more creative and doing things that I would normally do, doing and finding out things that I could do that I didn't know I could do during this time. Um, like how you been dealing with the pandemic? I know you were saying that like during this time, like are you still working regular, or has the pandemic affect your work?
No, the pandemic hasn't affected my work because I'm an electrician and we're considered to be essential. So anytime that they lock down Ohio, we still been working. Like I still work every day. And to be honest with you, like when we had a restriction on our movement, I still went out every day and did whatever I wanted to do. I don't really I don't apply to that. I don't apply that because honestly, I don't think this pandemic is. I don't think it is what they say it is. I don't think that um, people should just take whatever the news says to you as being true. And there was in America there was a saying that was "Give me freedom or give me death." And I'm a person. I'm a person that has a lowered immune system because I contracted hepatitis while I was using, and I also have asthma. So I'm a super high risk if I get COVID and I can die. And I still would rather do what I want to do and die than live in a box and be told what to do. But that's just me being headstrong, and that's the personality I've had my entire life.
Yeah, 'cause I'm down here in Colombia. I've been traveling the world for like the last 4 years consistently, nonstop. Went back home during the holidays for like a couple of months, and like when I look at the U.S. though, I see like when we talk about the COVID, I see the numbers going up like all the time. Some people say it's real, some people say it's not real. I don't know. Like here the numbers are low, um, and I don't like the situation where now that my blue passport used to mean a whole lot to me. I used to can go to any country, travel, but now since this going on and they looking at the numbers and they see people in the U.S. they're not taking it seriously. A lot of countries are barring us from coming. Like we can't, like some of the countries I want to visit, I can't go to now because they're looking at their numbers are low, but then they see the numbers in the U.S. No, I mean what do you think about that? I mean, I know you. Do you think all this is a conspiracy or what? I mean, what do you think going on? And why do you think that they blocking us from going to these countries? And what's with the situation with that?
Because I honestly think that I don't think that it. Okay, so when it comes to the word conspiracy, a conspiracy is every person that's watching this channel right now, I can't see how many people that is, but if we all made a decision to go commit a crime, any crime, the fact that more than one decide, the fact that me and other people decide to do that, that is a conspiracy by the definition of the law. So the idea of a conspiracy is just people making a plan to do something. All right. And when it comes down to this, I honestly think that there's fear that's being pushed, and I think that once November 3rd happens, like November 3rd is gonna happen, November 4th, people will forget about it. If you saw in the United States when that stuff happened with George Floyd, and people started protesting and rioting, they weren't reporting on this epidemic at all until it started to the riots and protests started to lose support, and then they went back to the, like, right when Trump went to have his rally is when they decide that, oh, the second wave's coming, we gotta lock everything down again. Like, I think it's a there's some sort of battle that's going on, or there's some agenda that's being pushed. I'm not saying that that COVID's not real, but I just don't think that it is necessarily what we're being told.
I mean, because like what I seen, and you talking about the George Floyd thing too. I'm gonna touch on that a little bit. The what I seen before the George Floyd thing, that mean the U.S. they was enforcing people to wear the mask, and they was taking it seriously. But then when George Floyd happened, it like everybody was like, to hell with the mask. Nobody would practice social distancing no more. They wasn't even talking about COVID no more. The attention was on that, and I seen like a change that happened during that time period. I seen like now I'm seeing a shift going on with race relations. I'm seeing like a lot of people. I'm seeing a lot of white guilt too. I'm seeing a lot of white people. They're changing, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on. I'm seeing like, I mean, what do you have to say about what's going on in America right now? The state of going, because you talked about it on Time Show too a little bit. You kind of touched on that a little bit. Like, what do you think?
The far left, the Marxism in America is at an all-time high, and they're Marxists are trying to take over the country, and Marxism is pushing the racist narrative, and they're pushing the oppressed and oppressor with blacks and whites and with men and women, and there's just a struggle for control that's going on in the country and a lot of Western countries. And this white guilt this white guilt idea is stupid. Like, it's stupid. I just
I'm seeing
don't.
this all over the world. I'm seeing
Yeah.
like even in Japan and Europe, they talking about Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, what the hell? Where this coming from? I mean, it's not that many black people in these countries, but I mean, I don't know if they supporting the movement or they seen what happened with George Floyd.
Well,
And
I'm gonna be honest with you. So I've seen reports of someone that was close to George Floyd saying that he died 3 or 4 years prior to the incident this year. I've also seen the fact that, like, at the end of the day, what happened to George Floyd was not good. Like, you shouldn't lay on someone's neck until they die. But at the same time, George Floyd was on fentanyl and he was on meth. So he was gonna have trouble breathing. They call that speedballing, and that puts your heart out of sync. So even had he not been on his neck, he could have died just from that. That he was saying that he couldn't breathe in the car prior to him getting on dude's neck, or prior to him prior to the incident. He was saying that he couldn't breathe. But this is the thing. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, man. Like, I've been arrested multiple times, and you just don't resist the police. Like, once they catch you, they catch you. Like, don't be a smartass to the police. Have I had the police do fucked up shit to me? Yes, I have. Have I deserved it? Yes. Did it go against my rights? Yes. But at the end of the day, don't do stupid stuff. Like, don't act like a dick to the cops. And 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100, you're not nothing's gonna go wrong. You're gonna live.
I think that there was bad blood between the officer and George Floyd. They used to work at a nightclub together,
Yeah,
and
I think it was personal.
I'm a DJ. I know that I think George Floyd did security and the police officer also did security. And
Yeah.
in these nightclubs, you always have a beef between the police officer and the regular security guys. Because most nightclubs, you're going to have at least one or two police officers on your security staff. And the other guys, they might have their own security company. And sometimes the police officer would flex their muscles because they got more power. They got law on their side. When the other guy, he ain't got that but just a security shirt on. He don't have a badge. They got a security shirt. So I've seen situations where these guys, I've seen police officers and security guys get to fighting or get mad over a woman. Like working in the club, I seen them get into it, and it could have been a situation. I think they got a pass. When I think when they go to court, when they go to trial, a lot of stuff gonna come out of this. A lot of stuff that we don't know is gonna come out, and people gonna see the truth.
Here's the other thing. This is a fact. George Floyd was a porn star. Like, the cop was married. Like, it's a crazy idea that maybe he was, hitting on his old lady, or maybe his old lady got a little sweetmeats from him or something. Like these people knew each other, so whatever happened was clearly personal.
Exactly. I can look at the guy's face, man. Look at his expression. He knew what the hell he was doing. He knew what the hell he was doing, and he thought he was gonna get away with it. But if it wasn't for covers, I mean, he might have. He might well have. I think, and like you said, I mean, he was on drugs and he could have had problems, but him putting that extreme force in his neck was what killed him. Like
But see,
that guy knew,
that's hard
and
to say.
that technique he doing is a forbidden technique. Most police, like most, they don't really practice that move. Most that's an unlawful move, and many police officers said that's something that they don't. I mean, they knew that move would be a situation that could kill them.
Yeah, but see, it depends. It really depends on like, it's not against the law to use that move. That's actually a technique that is taught to the police. It depends on the department. If the department has a policy that you can use it, and you have to understand that George Floyd was on meth and on dope, so he was strong. He also was built, and he was also like 6'3", 6'4". He was a big guy. Like, he wasn't a small person. Like, if you go back and look at George Floyd, or not George Floyd, if you look at Eric Gardner, they said that man choked him to death. If you go and look at the video, he went from behind, grabbed him, and as he grabbed him in that headlock, he tucked him to the ground. As soon as they got him to the ground, he let go of him. So, like, at the end of the day, when it comes down to a split-second decision, you're going to use something. Should he have moved his knee off a dude's neck after he got him to the ground? He should have. But that's the problem with that. It's not that he used that. It's that he decided he was going to use it and stay on it. Like,
yeah, I see. If he handcuffed, he got the handcuffs on him. I don't see no need to really put the pressure on him. You already got the handcuffs on him.
Right.
I just don't see the need. I don't see the need to put force on the person. Like, as long as you got them
I agree.
handcuffed.
That's where I think it was personal. Like, not only did they have personal problems, but he resisted arrest. And, like, so I think that was, like, him being a dick. Like, that was what he was doing. Like, he wanted to make sure the dude suffered. Because having someone on your neck while you're handcuffed is not comfortable. I'm sure those cuffs were also super tight, way tighter than they needed to be.
Exactly. That was a very unfortunate situation, though. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, but this is the facts. There was a guy in 2016 named Tony Tempa. He was a guy that was mentally ill. He was on drugs. He called 911 himself and said that I'm off my medication and that I need help. And the police came and they did the same thing to him, except for they were on that dude for way longer, and he begged for his mom, and the cops mocked him. And he was a white guy that called for help, and they killed him. And you didn't hear it in the news.
It was
it
in
wasn't.
Dallas. Happened in
Yeah,
Dallas.
yeah, it wasn't reported. Like this is how you know it's a false narrative that they're trying to get blacks and whites to fight in America or not trust each other, because they've been pushing this oppressor oppressee idea on blacks for years. And at the end of the day, even if you go on Tommy's show or you go on other people other creators that are black, you'll hear callers call in and say like, well, the white man and the white man and the white man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
only like 1% of the population actually has some form of power. So like when you say the white man, you're really just talking about elites, because I know for a fact that I can't wake up and oppress anybody. Like when I go to get my bread, I stand in the same line as everybody else. I know when I get arrested, I don't know a congressman, or I don't know any white people at all that have family members that are congressmen. Like I don't know anybody. My my uncle was a sheriff in the county that I'm from, and at no point did I ever not get arrested for committing a crime, and he was a sheriff. So like this narrative that's pushed on society is really to keep people divided, because together we're much stronger than we are when we're divided. Like if you look at Malcolm X was killed once he started to say that he was going to start working with whites to push civil rights. That's when he got killed. Once he came back from Mecca and realized that there were all different colors of Muslims that were there
Yeah.
worshiping together.
I think Malcolm X is getting ready to take his. He was getting. Malcolm, I think he was getting ready to take his platform to the UN also. I think he was getting ready to go to the UN and address them on things that was going on. So I think that the government they got him, they wiped him away because they knew he was going to do some things. Um, what am I about to say? Uh, Something, but like you were saying earlier about the white man, I never bought that narrative of that. The white man not holding nobody back. The white man, he's not holding me back because I have the opportunity to do whatever I want to do. I can go to college. I went to college. I got my degree. I had businesses. Traveling. I mean, the white man they stop me from doing anything. To me, that's an excuse people use. And if you buy into that, then you're gonna hold yourself back.
The only way that the only way that I see that to be a logical narrative is back in the 60s when they put welfare into black communities and they pushed that. I do believe that that was a direct thing to hold black people back. The Democrats deliberately did that. But at the same
Mhm.
time, women didn't have to take the welfare. And then after the women took the welfare, people started to get rid of shame. Like I grew up in projects with my parents, and my parents, I can remember buying food stuff with food stamps, and my parents were shamed. They did everything they could to get us off welfare. To the point where my parents put shame in me on certain stuff. As a drug addict, I would not go into a store and buy stuff with change because I felt shameful counting change to buy something, to where I still don't buy stuff with change to this day. But the fact of the matter was is my parents felt shame. They put shame onto us, and then like we did everything that we could to not feel that shame and not be on welfare anymore. And like that's lost on people. Even with even with the Democrats pushing that agenda, you didn't have to partake in it, and if you did partake in it, you could have taken it to the benefit of get using it while you need it and then getting off of it. But the problem is people, the victim culture of America is huge, where people think that you should just be a victim and that even in your choices you don't have to take accountability for your actions.
Like what direction you think? Where do you think America is going now? Like, you think we're going to a socialist type of way? What direction you think that we're going in now?
Well, America is already pretty socialist, but I think that once Trump wins this election, I think that things will calm back down and America will see prosperity again.
And also, 'cause we're about to get ready to close this conversation out. I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's been great having you on. If any of you guys got anything that you want to address to Savage Red Recovery, you can do so at this time, or you can do it in the chat. Come on, cause we about to wrap it up. Um, like also, I can tell like you've been have you when you was born like was you brought up around black people? Like I think you were saying your baby mama's black and you got
Yeah,
like biracial kids.
yeah.
What kind of tell us what your experience been like with black people?
Um, well, pretty much I was white, so I was always considered to be weak or lick or always called white boy. Always had racial slurs and stuff said to me. Um, like also I've had most of the people I hung out with most of my life were black, so like it goes both ways. Like having white stereotypes against me or people being cool with me. But it just depends on the people. It's getting worse now. The culture is becoming more polarized with the stuff that's going on in the political realm. But like I was always one of those. I was always that white dude that was hanging out with all the black dudes. I always lived in the hood. Like I live in the hood now. I live in the inner city of Cleveland in a Slavic village, which is mixed. On my street, the only people that are white is the guy that lives above me and me. Everyone else in my neighborhood's black. That like on my street, like I don't see any other white people unless they're driving through. Um, like we're all the same. We all do the same shit. We just see things differently.
Exactly. How many kids do you have?
I have two. I have a son that's 3 and a daughter that's 1. And my son's mom is black, and my daughter's mom is Bohemian.
Oh, okay. Cool, man. It was great having you on the show, man. Like I said, I'm gonna be checking you out on your channel. Um, and I want everybody to go check him out. Also, it's in the description of this video. Savage Red Recovery. Um, like I said, he's doing some great things on his channel, and it was great having him on. Man, you have any closing comments, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, guys, just make sure that you guys end up always invest in yourself. Take money and invest it into something that's going to produce you money. If you decide that you want to have more in life, you have to work for yourself, or you have to create the ability to have income that comes in that's passive. Never put anyone before yourself. Always make sure you're straight, so that you guys can if you guys have kids or if you have a wife, always make sure that you're able to grow, because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Great points, man. And thank you for coming on, Savage Red Recovery. I appreciate you taking time to talk about drug addiction and talk about life in general. I appreciate you coming on
No
joining
problem.
me on the panel, man.
No problem, man.
All right, okay. We'll see you next time.
All right, stay savage, man.
All right, all right, you guys. We had Savage Red Recovery on. That was Savage Red Recovery. Y'all make sure y'all go check him out. Check out his channel. Once again, it's in the description of this video. And like I said, he got a pretty interesting story. I wish some of you guys would have come on the panel or would have interacted over that. I don't know why y'all treat me like a wet food stamp, but it's all good. And you people that listen